Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we are talking about the potential for yet another upcoming major snowstorm. So without further ado, let's get into it. Stay tuned for the whole video and enjoy. Before we get started with the video though, if you guys have not already, please consider subscribing. It really does help my channel grow. I want to thank you guys so much for 2,000 subscribers. We've flown past, and hopefully we can hit our next goal of 3,000 subscribers soon. And also, to help this video reach more people, please consider liking and sharing it as well. And let's get into the video now. So yes, another major snowstorm is in the forecast potentially, and this is going to be like taking place throughout January. So this will be kind of like a January weather outlook here, because there's going to be a couple of minor snowstorms that will just swing through, but they could combined could could rack up some major snow totals in some areas. Again, there's not too much certainty on this. This will be like mid to late week next week, maybe even more beyond that. Now, this map here from the Weather Channel kind of depicts it perfectly, right? We're going to see through Wednesday, through midweek and late week, the storm will be swinging through the central and then into the southeast. Now, snow totals, the amount and where it's going to be, we don't know quite yet, because if you look at snow, see how it just says lighter and heavier? Notice how there's no real numbers yet? That's because there's not much certainty. All right, but with the rain, they did put numbers on the map for rain, but not for snow. All right, so there could be a couple inches throughout the central United States, and maybe more for the Appalachian Mountains, but maybe that could be if the storm dives far south enough and there's enough cold air, maybe the snow will be farther north, right? And or maybe even brought farther south to areas that usually don't see snow. Again, all does depend on that track and how much cold air is there as well, and moisture for that matter. So from the Climate Prediction Center for the south, all right, as you can see, colder than average temperatures are expected January 8th through the 12th. Couldn't really get anything before this, but average temperatures for most of the central part of the country, and then like the northern part of the country, maybe even the west as well. Maybe some slightly warmer times, but that doesn't mean you can't have snow, right? I mean, it's January, so we can pretty much still get snow in a lot of these areas. And our oscillations here, as you can see, so here is our Pacific North American oscillation, and again, just like it has been ever since like the last time it was below the zero line was mid-November. And when it's above the zero line, you tend to see some colder air and some storm systems, and it's still above that zero line, at least through mid-January, so that's what we're probably going to be seeing. The NAO has been staying below the zero line for a little while now. All right, so again, more cold air when we have a negative NAO. Again, I just like to show you just because of how often they update, and it's always important to check back with these as well. And then our AO, like I said, like I've always said, this one has been like a pretty impressive one. All right, it's going to stay pretty low, and that's why I'm confident that at least for some areas in the central and the east, this won't be in effect all the time, but there will be definitely some colder times here, just because of how low the AO has been ever since like mid-December or late December, just because of how low it's been. Like, I mean, if it's below the zero line, I get that, but when it's this far below, like -3, -5 even, so that is definitely something worth noting. Now, onto our models. We do have quite a variety, quite a number of models to look at today. We do have our usual three, our GFS, our Canadian, our European model, but a couple of other bonus ones as well, just to kind of get like the most opinions in. So first model we have is the GFS model, and because of how just like how the last one was a cross-country system, I'm going to keep it zoomed out to the whole country just so we can see the storm a lot better. So you can already see the first low is taking place. Here it is very early on Wednesday. It's swinging through the northern plains. All right, and I will say though, a lot of these models, either most of them or even all of them, do put some kind of snow. I hate to spoil it, but they do put some kind of snow for the Mid-Atlantic. Now, whether that means just snow for the Appalachian Mountains or even, like for example, the I-95 corridor, that is yet to be determined. All right, but there's a low taking a little bit better form now. Like I just showed you 2 a.m. Wednesday. This is 8 p.m. Wednesday, and now the storm looks a lot stronger. Well, they're not in pressure, but we definitely do see a tail front of either heavy rain or severe weather developing to the south of it. Still a little bit of snow to the north, but there's really not too much cold air. Not until the low does lose a couple more millibars of pressure, we get a little bit more cold air. But like I said, by the time the low drops this far into the southeast, there's really not enough cold air for it to work with. But then once it moves back north again, we start to work with the cold air in the mountains. We can see some snow break out, and look at this. Even the I-95 corridor now maybe some scattered areas from Philly to DC, even down to Richmond, could see some snow. Not looking like a widespread monster snow event. It could still be, right. I mean, again, this is like a first depiction of it. This is like quite a few days out, 5 or 6 days out. All right, but it's not like it's isn't like a long range outlook. So it's definitely something we have to keep in mind. This is more like a mid range kind of outlook. So snowfall forecast through the next 7 days. Again, you can see through Western North Carolina, Southern Virginia. I don't know why they have 20 inches of snow. I think that's way too high, especially for like if this was looking certain and we look like having a blizzard, then that's one thing. But it's a little bit too far out to tell. But definitely worth paying attention to Northern North Carolina in the mountainous regions, the Appalachian Mountains, Southern Virginia as well, even West Virginia. That's definitely an area worth paying attention to, and also where the storm first originated from. You could get a few inches from the northern and central plains as well. Again, so you can see the snow kind of starts falling here, then it loses the cold air kind of down here, and then we get more cold air back here, and I just drew a face. All right, but yes, in all seriousness, there's your two areas of snow, the mid-Atlantic potentially, and the Northeast, as well as the northern plains. Our next model is the European model, and I gotta say, all models are in somewhat of an agreement actually, which is a surprise for when we're this far out. So we did have a little snowmaker across the Northeast today. It was only the interior Northeast, no I-95 snowfall again. All right, so just some interior Northeast snowfall, generally pretty light, 1 to 3 inches. But here is our storm system. It's starting to take shape, and I know it doesn't look like much originally, and it actually may not start out as much. That's why, again, when you look at this map, notice how they only had like an inch or 3 inches in this region over here, but maybe some heavier snowfall in the Appalachian Mountains, because that's where it could potentially strengthen more as it heads up the I-95 corridor. So I definitely think this is something worth paying attention to, especially for the I-95 corridor or even the Appalachian Mountains. We do see a lot of mixed bag precipitation starting to develop as well. Now for the south, this is why you guys might get lucky, because according to the timing of the European model, your precip comes through around the morning time on Thursday, which is typically when the coldest part of the day is, like that early morning time frame. All right, so that's why you might look out and get some wintry precip, but look, by the afternoon, it warms up a little bit, and we pretty much go over to all rain. So if we can get it to come in overnight and early morning, maybe the south will have an increased chance of snow, but still look, all right, look, you got the little area of snow and mix on the northwest side. All right, the European model, not quite as intense maybe. They do intensify the storm offshore, but not too much cold air for it to work with. But the European model is still signaling something. And again, this could all change just like that on the next model run of any of these models. So that's something to keep in mind too as well. Now, as for the snowfall with the European model, again, you got your lighter snowfall, about 1 to 4, 2 to 4 inches across the northern and central plains, and then maybe some heavier snowfall, maybe around 6 or so inches plus for the Appalachian Mountains and those higher elevations where you have more cold air in place. But also because the storm could intensify a bit more closer to the mid-Atlantic than it will when it is across the northern plains. So hopefully by now you guys are getting a general idea of how the storm is going to take shape and take form. Just going through the models here. And our next one is in fact the Canadian model. So again, there's your first system moving through the Northeast. All right. And again, the low is pretty weak at first. 1,010 millibars of pressure. Not really much, but not really strong to say the least. But there are high pressure systems forming in the west, and that could help to force some more cold air south. So as you can see, the snow region for this storm with the Canadian model to start out with is actually a little bit more widespread than the other models had. Now, as it moves north and offshore, you can see like the snow is already breaking out. Even northwestern South Carolina and northeastern Georgia could get in on some of this, but of course those are mountainous areas there as well. But still, you can see the pretty heavy snow in place, North Carolina-Virginia border here. All right, and then moves up to I-95 corridor, but then, does the snow get to the I-95 before it moves offshore? I think that's the question we need to ask ourselves right now. And as for snowfall, now they actually, because they had snow forming over Missouri, they actually do put quite a few inches, 4 or 5, 6 inches for Missouri. Still a few inches, couple inches in the northern plains, but still around actually a foot for the North Carolina and Virginia border here, of course, in mostly those higher elevations. So definitely something to keep an eye on here. And this is no storm to laugh at. Now, this is the GFS V16. I don't show this too much. All right, and this is kind of like a variant of the GFS model. Now, again, here's the low taking shape in the northern plains. It's already moving through the south. Maybe some snow does break out in the central plains and parts of the Midwest as well. All right, but then the low moves up the I-95 corridor, and now we got a bit of a different situation for that 95 corridor, especially between Philly and Richmond. That includes Baltimore and DC. Definitely looking like at some much heavier snowfall for the Mid-Atlantic region. It's a very, now it's not because I'm zoomed out so far, but it is actually a pretty tiny region that can get this snowfall. Like, we're not talking about the entire I-95 corridor or anything. All right, and then maybe another storm coming into Oklahoma, but that's way too far out at that point. So looking at the snowfall, now over the Chesapeake, 24 inches, 26. As much as I love snow, I have to say that's too much, especially, again, for an early prediction. But still, over 6 in this purple color is certainly a possibility. I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not going to rule out 2 feet either, but we also have to wait until the storm gets a lot closer. So 2 areas here, Missouri and also the Mid-Atlantic, that we do, according to this model, we do need to watch out for a good 6 inches plus. And again, this does all depend on the track. Even timing is a factor, and of course, how much cold air and moisture are in place as well. And a last model before we head to our last map. Our last model is, of course, the UK MET. This does go out through Saturday morning. All right, it only goes out 144 hours. I had all the other models going out to 168, but it still gives you an idea of the same snowfall totals here. And still, in that purple color, potential for over 6 inches, 6 to 12 plus in some areas, I'd say. But again, this could all change overnight. This could change in a couple of days. Remember, this isn't until middle, late next week, but I thought it was definitely something worth keeping an eye on, especially with my local forecast. I already saw like snowfalls on the map, so I definitely thought this was something to pay attention to. So areas to keep watch over: northern plains, watch out for a couple inches for you guys. But of course, we also have to watch the middle of the country, so like the heartland, through Missouri, and then especially the Appalachian Mountains and the Mid-Atlantic. Kind of the models, that's where the models put some of the higher totals. So definitely like a more of a bullseye region potentially. And some of the wind strength with these systems, again, there's one low that heads offshore. So here's Wednesday. All right, here's Thursday. Here's the low right here to GFS model. Winds could get up to 50 miles an hour, but those could be offshore winds, and those are also not sustained. Those are wind gusts. But still, looking like a pretty dynamic system with the European. I'm sorry, this is European. The GFS does, as you can see, bring the low a little bit closer. So could that mean the snow gets closer to I-95? That could also mean, this could also mean that warm air is in place and that it's rain for I-95. But definitely a lot of possibilities with this storm, and we definitely have to keep an eye on it. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I am The Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.